Well, welcome back for another episode of Enrichment on the Go. And I have I just love to call him my professor. But it's Dr. Campbell, and I just really appreciate him. And so we're going to talk about how to find the perfect daycare center. um, First of all, I know some parents. I like to say child care center, but how what does the perfect child care or daycare center look like, and why do the needs of each family uh differ, and in looking for that?
You're asking me that now?
I am. Or maybe that's just a question for us all, actually, for parents, for people who may be looking for. I want that to kind of resonate with you. What does that look like to you? Because for every family is going to look different, right? Every family is going to look different, and so there's no perfect place. But what you do want to make sure is that you are looking for a place that's safe and nurturing, right? And one that they're actually licensed. I think that's very, very important, that you are looking for someone who is licensed. That means they have actually gone through what is required by their state. I mean, the state does have more, but I just want to give um, really say thank you to Dr. Campbell for this, because I know my center, my child care, for me, it grew by leaps and bounds just through education. And parents, you have to be educated as well when you're looking for a center. And, you want some place that is all, I really thank you for that, because I remember, I can't remember what you said. You said so many nuggets, but you really want to make sure you're looking for the right center. If they're not, I think it starts with the phone call or how they're interacting with you, even when you are reaching out. If the staff is not, if they answer the phone, hello, or they're a little aggressive, you really want somewhere where it's, to me, consumer and customer friendly. But that, we're going to kind of get into that, because it just depends. Maybe somebody needs some more education um, as they go along. So let's discuss 5 areas that you should be looking for as a parent. We're going to look from a parent's perspective in this episode, and we really want you to know what to look for. So let's talk about relationships, Dr. Campbell. What should they look for in regards to relationships when looking for a center?
Well, one of the things that you mentioned, how friendly are the staff members? Is it an open and welcoming environment? That is a key. It has to be as warm as home.
Mhm.
You want children to feel as though this is a place that I want to go back to tomorrow to see my friends. Oh, or I want to see Miss Jane, um, my favorite teacher.
Mhm.
It's a place where you want to be able to see that a relationship can be built, um, and a place where the relationship can be sustained.
Mm.
You are not looking for, first thing I want to know, Miss Lofty, how long have you been at Loving Hands?
Mhm.
And if you tell me I've only been here 3 weeks, that kind of is a red flag. If you tell me you've been there 10 years, oh, that gives me a
Mhm.
different picture of you. Some centers do have issues, and,
Mhm.
and, and daycare homes or childcare facility, whatever you want to call them, have issues with staff turnover.
Absolutely.
You want to look for those that can maintain staff.
Mhm.
That gives me as a parent at least a picture that the staff are happy working there.
Absolutely.
That's important. That is important. I want to know, will my child be able to build a relationship with a person who's going to be there throughout my child's tenure in this daycare home facility center, however we want to frame it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's important.
Right.
That is the environment. When you walk in the door, how do you feel? How is this environment? Not necessarily, I'm not only talking about the physical environment,
Mm.
but I'm talking about that feel of the place. It feels warm, inviting. It feels comfortable. This is what you want to look for.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing you want to look for, Tanya spoke about was, are you licensed? Okay, you better be.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
And does the center have other accreditations?
Mm-hmm.
NAEYC, Maryland State Department of Education, the gold standard, all of those things that are a part of uh, a high quality mark.
There you go. That's what I was waiting. That's what
Yeah.
you taught me. Not, you don't want to look for a center or one thing I always talk about, because I have family childcare, people
Mm-hmm.
say, "Oh, you're a babysitter." No, I don't sit on babies. I don't sit on babies. No, we're educators, right? But one of the things, not the one, but one of the things that stuck out the most to me, you always stressed not not a child care, a high quality child care. And I've actually adopted that, in everything that I do. But it's just, you want something high quality. And when you say sustainability, I think it's very important for parents to know that you don't want to, because we socially and emotionally, your child is trying to come into this environment, even when it's welcoming and warm, and they need to be able to stay, because your children are building relationships with other children and with the staff. And when you move from child care to child care, or whomever, if caregiver to caregiver, it's hard for your child to make connections socially. And so it's very, if you find somewhere, is if you can work through, I'm not saying if it's volatile or detrimental to your child's well-being, absolutely not. One, you should report that center, and do what you need to do. But if it's not volatile, and you can communicate with the staff or the teacher or the director, because again, you're building a relationship, you're building relationships, not just the child with the teacher, but the parents with the teacher or the teachers, right? So it's very important, because your child is trying to become acclimated. And this is something I always share with parents. They need to be here by a specific time, because we're doing activities or we're doing things, and they need to be in that environment. And I'm not saying that you don't come in sometimes late or things of that nature, but there should be some consistency and a routine to what is happening with your child. That's going to help your child to become more acclimated to the program.
Yes, and you mentioned another thing that's very important. When you walk in, a parent should be able to see the rules posted. What are the rules that children follow? What are the rules that parents need to follow? You want to see an organized organization, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you are the client as the parent, and the business owner, because it's a business, you're paying a fee
Mm-hmm.
for high quality child care services, which include social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development. Now, cognitive development has to do with the brain and your academic part.
Mm-hmm.
This is all part of it. Can you see when you walk in all of these things that are supposed to be there, can you actually see it and feel it?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a well appointed library area? And it's, if the teachers and the owner, if they don't give you a tour and explain to you the different areas in that setting that support social, emotional, cognitive, and physical development, then you need to ask some questions, because these are the
Absolutely.
important things that have to be going on in that setting on a daily basis
Mm-hmm.
with these children. Uh, Another thing, you want to make sure that these children are um, in the hands of qualified staff.
Mm-hmm.
Are there credentials for each individual posted and visible for all who come through the door? You want to make sure that you have credentialed and well prepared individuals, teachers working with your child. So you've got to look for that. Ask questions if you don't see it.
Absolutely.
The next thing is, ask them, what curriculum do you use?
That's it.
Oh, that's a good question. Now, if there's some hemming and hawing around, well, we do some things, I don't know, we get it from someplace. Leave, because there should be a well research based, widely recognized in the field curriculum used by that provider. You can go to the internet on your own as a parent and research and find out what are some of the best curriculums for early childhood, or what are some of
Mm-hmm.
the best curriculums used in early childhood settings. It'll
Mm-hmm.
tell you. And if you don't hear any of those, then you may have some other questions, because this is not uh, a put together thing that you just find something in the newspaper. Oh, that sounds good. Let me write it down. I heard somebody on the subway say, "Oh, let me write." No, 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 no. It is a well organized, developmentally appropriate process, and there are curriculum models that
Mm-hmm.
meet that need. Okay. Next, when you walk in the door, and this should be absolutely number one: is it clean?
Yes. Absolutely.
You can see that right off the bat.
See
Is
and
it
smell.
clean?
See and smell.
Yes. What
See
does it
and
smell
smell.
like?
Mm-hmm.
What does it smell like? Oh my God. Oh, you know what? It can smell like something foul. That means that their cleaning procedures are not
Mm-hmm.
uh, such a priority. The cleaning should be taking place constantly, especially
Constantly.
especially with COVID now. We're wiping, cleaning, sanitizing all the time. That is
All the
well
time.
within all within the process. So this kind of gets into the environment part of
Mm-hmm.
it, because
Yep.
that environment is definitely where the child will be most
All the time.
all the time. All
All
right.
the time.
And is it just simply clean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it safe? I think we hit on that a little bit, but what do we mean by safe?
And we were going to talk about safety and health. Absolutely.
I'm getting a little ahead of it, but you know
No, that's fine.
how I get
Absolutely.
on a
They
roll
go
here,
hand in hand.
Miss Lofty. I get on a roll, and
That's all right with me.
but um, the environment rolls into
Mm-hmm.
the safety and the health part. If it has a foul odor and it's not clean, that gets to health. And it gets on to the safety part of it. Are the floors well maintained? Are the rugs clean? Or are they spotted and dirty and soiled? Are there, depending upon how food is handled, do parents bring their own, or
Mm-hmm.
do they provide meals there? What are the conditions in the food prep area? Whoever preps the food, do they have a food handler certification, which is important? Have they taken the food handlers uh, uh, course through the county? That's important because safe handling of food, again, in this time of COVID, is even
Mm-hmm.
more important. Uh, there should be a certificate hanging on the wall that says somebody in that uh, environment has a food handler's certification to handle food.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is food stored properly?
Absolutely.
Mother's breast milk. Small thing people don't think about, but are the bottles marked for each child if you have more than one and placed in the refrigerator? I happened to go into a place, I'll just say a place, doing a kind of a rough review of this place, assessment of it. And one of my things is the refrigerator.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I opened up the refrigerator, and inside the refrigerator, we got all kinds of Chinese food, empty, half eaten boxes of Pepsis,
Wow.
Subway sandwiches wrapped up, mixed in with medicines and baby bottles, for because they had infants. Uh, that's ridiculous. Staff,
Absolutely.
staff, lunches and whatever should not be in the same refrigerator as the refrigerator for children's medicine and food and formula. That's
Absolutely.
that's, that's horrible. The temperature
Absolutely.
of the doggone uh, a refrigerator was, it was kind of high, and it didn't seem like the
Wow.
proper temperature. So there were a lot of things wrong, but these are the things that a parent has to be
Mm-hmm.
aware of in checking the environment. Do not be afraid to ask questions because
Mm-hmm.
you are entrusting your children to the care of this child care, family care,
Mm-hmm.
center care facility.
Absolutely.
All three are basically the same. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
They care for children.
Absolutely.
All right. And the standards are basically the same for all three. Um, so it's important that you check the toilet facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that with infants that they have uh, trash containers with lids
Mm-hmm.
for disposal of diapers. Okay. One of my pet peeves is, how do you handle if a child throws up and vomits from it,
Oh,
upset
absolutely.
stomach? How do you handle that? Well, you need to have what are those packs called? Bodily fluid packs.
Oh yeah, I know the
You,
biohazard, like the biohazard.
biohazard, right?
Mm-hmm.
Clean that up right away for disposal, so that there is nothing to contaminate the other part of the environment.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have gloves? Do they change gloves when changing children? Every time you change a child, you change gloves for the next
Do
child.
they wash their hands?
Hand washing, paramount. Hand washing.
Mm-hmm.
Do they wash their hands constantly? So these are some of the things that, and all of this ties into the environment.
Absolutely.
Now, the other thing, look at the heating and air conditioning systems. Radiators, if they are radiators, I don't know if any of these places have radiators anymore. Are they covered?
Mm-hmm.
My thing with uh, light fixtures and plugs, I still abide by, put something in that plug. Don't
Oh,
let that just
absolutely.
be. You
Absolutely.
know, is that safe?
Absolutely.
If you have blinds, are they the twist kind, or they have the strings?
They
Show
shouldn't
people.
even have strings. I
That's
believe
right.
that's like not even appropriate for
Should
child
not
care.
have
Yeah.
it, but you never know.
You don't know. You're absolutely
Okay.
right. I think that's a good point to bring out to parents because, you think that someone, because people put on a lot of things. And so, it's very important that we are bringing this to light. If you do see the cord, or if they have the cord, power cord strips. These are all things that you should look for in the environment. Is the furniture child sized or is it adult sized? There are things that you should be looking for when you come in. Even if you don't know, that's why we want you to know, because you need to know what to look for. And no question, like Dr. Campbell mentioned, no question that you ask is a dumb question, or like out of reach. You want to ask these types of questions, especially when your child is going to be in this environment, even if it's an hour, or if you're doing part-time care, depending on the facility, or you're doing half day care. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that the staff is using best practices, right? And what are
Absolutely.
their practices for when volunteers come into the program? All of that plays a vital, a role in the environment. Volunteers shouldn't be left alone with the children. There are certain stipulations that you have to make sure that the center, the family home, whatever it may be, that they are following.
Absolutely. And to make sure that they're following all state and county, if the county has some separate regulations, all
Mm-hmm.
state and county regulations pertaining to uh, child care. And the first one is being licensed.
Absolutely.
Um, you want to make sure that when you are walking through, and ask for a walkthrough, observe everything. Are there windows for natural light to get in? These may seem like small things, but they are not small things. They are
Mm-hmm.
large things.
Mm-hmm.
When you ask about the outdoor play area, uh, walk out into the yard, or whatever it is. You want to make sure that it's safe. You want to make sure that you ask this question: how often do you clean the yard
Mm-hmm.
before the children go out to the play yard? Excellent question. The answer should be, we clean it when we come in the morning, and then we go out again and inspect before the children go out for recess.
Mm-hmm.
That's the answer. Because birds, dogs, squirrels, cats, who knows, deer, anything can, in our area here in Maryland, anything can tramp
Mm-hmm.
through that yard at any time of the night. And you have to make sure that your fencing is in place. You have to make sure that there are no sharp points on your fencing where a child may cut themselves. You've got to make sure it's high enough so that the child cannot, and the state has rules for that, for
They
licensing.
have rules. Mm-hmm.
So you have to be in a position to ask these questions. And even before you go to any of these businesses, go to the state website and just look up what are the rules
Housing.
for child care.
And you can actually look
Center.
up the center itself or the family provider on the state's website. They'll let you know whether they are compliant or whether they have met the needs, met the compliance. Have they, if there was something that they weren't compliant with, it will show that they've either, fixed it or anything like that. It could be something, very small, but you want to make sure that they're compliant. So you can actually look up the center or the facility online to make sure that they're compliant. So there are ways to do that. You can also, word of mouth or asking questions. I've often, in times past, if you would like a referral for one of my parents, you can do that. I've done that in times past. But you do want to make sure that the environment is safe and that all of those things that we just mentioned. And it's, again, you can go right to the state. A lot of families don't know that. When they're looking, they kind of Google, centers in the area, but you can actually go to the site to see. You can go right to the site. So let's talk about the professional and business practices. Should they have a handbook? Should they have a parent
Oh, yeah.
handbook?
Well,
Should they have a contract?
that's one of my favorite. All of them are my favorite subjects. Let me just say that. But this one in particular, the center should be able to put into your hands a handbook.
Mhm.
The handbook should set forth everything. Your contract may even be in the handbook. However, each one has a kind of a nuanced way of doing it. But the handbook lays down the, out for better word, rules for parents. Okay. And one of the most important things is, when is my tuition due? That should be there. The day that your tuition is due. Now, along with that, and we hope that it never happens, that you have to be late on your tuition payment, what are the procedures that go along with late payment of tuition? That should, above all, be in big, bold letters so there's no misunderstanding between the client and the provider.
Mm-hmm.
Secondly, methods of payment: Zelle, Cash App, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, American Express.
American Express, Mexico, Visa, American
Okay, so
Express.
that should be set forth because it tells you how you can pay.
Or
So
if you
that,
need a voucher, some families use vouchers,
of
and
course,
it's okay to use a voucher. And there are all kinds of vouchers. There are military vouchers. So you may want to, as a parent, you may want to check with your employer to see if they, have some type of voucher in place. If you qualify for the one through your state where you are, that's one thing. But if you don't, maybe there's some other vouchers, and maybe the center offers some type of discount, sibling discounts, things of that nature that you may want to ask. Do you all offer a sibling discount, or something of that nature? I know with everything that's transpired with COVID, a lot of they're just trying to actually stabilize a lot of childcare facilities, because childcares have it's been a lot. And so they're trying to keep providers or childcare centers open, and talk to the center, because they, I know some centers have had challenges with even bringing staff back in and things of that nature. There's been a lot that has transpired. But if you do have a center that is open, or a family provider, ask them, how did they navigate through COVID, or how are they? My center, we have a COVID policy in place, and so you want to make sure that there's some things that up front. But if they're doing it normally during the interview process, I normally do mine all through the interview process. I have a whole we talk about the whole parent handbook. I go over everything and the contract, and then we discuss from there. And then, if they decide to enroll, they get a letter that is more of a snippet of everything we discussed, but they still get the handbook. So you want to just make sure that it's an environment where it's professional, right? It has to be a professional environment. For you, because you all are interviewing each other in actuality. So you want to make sure that the center is presenting you with professionalism, The staff is professional. I think that's very big, not just one person. You want your staff to be knowledgeable, as we mentioned before. Can they have a conversation with the parents? What systems do they have in place? If another 9/11, God forbid, were to happen, what would they do? With COVID, what have they done? They should have emergency preparedness plans in place. They should be doing fire drills every month. There are just certain things that the center or family childcare should be doing. So it's just what it looks like for you. And a center versus a family childcare, like Dr. Campbell said, they're all providing care. I think that's very big to acknowledge, is that they're all providing care. It's what type of care you are looking for your family. Okay. No one care is good or better than the other. It's what works for your family. And so a lot of times in the depending on the center, I love I can't think of what it is. What's the one, Dr. Campbell, where they oh goodness, Montessori.
Oh, Montessori. Oh,
I
yeah.
really love the Montessori approach. I mean,
Uh-huh.
family childcare to me is almost like a Montessori approach in
Mm-hmm.
regards to the different age groups
Mm-hmm.
within the center. I absolutely love the Montessori approach, because um, children learn from other children, right? They should learn from the environments that they're in, irregardless. So even at home, don't think your child picked up everything from the center. They bring some stuff home from home. And so, we have conversations with parents as well. Hey, what's going on, or what transpired? But what you're looking for is a collaboration. You're looking for where you all are working together as a unit. And where the staff and the parents, where you all are working together to meet the developmental needs of your child. And I think the biggest thing you want to ask yourself, is my child, I don't want to say happy, but is my child growing? Can I see that my child enjoys going here? I'm not saying that your child is never going to cry. That's not what I'm saying. Is my child happy, or do they, when they come home, it's, have they learned something? Are they doing something that they didn't do before? You want to see what the demeanor is of your child when they are there. If you're not sure about a center, you may ask them if your child can just come in for a couple hours to visit, or if you could come in, and visit, or come in. I've done that. I've had a child be able to come in from like 9 to noon. You want to see if it's a good fit for your child, right? So these are things you can ask. It doesn't mean that they have to, but if they're willing to do that, I think it helps settle you as a parent. Because if you're not comfortable, then it's already an issue. So
And that's a good point. The level of comfort that that the parent has to have when they sit down face to face with you. And again, part of that is through that handbook, because again, that handbook lays in front of the parent, and the parent should sign for the handbook.
mm-hmm,
Um,
absolutely.
and it lays out the expectations of the parent. I'm sorry, of the center, or the daycare home. It lays out those expectations that the parent has to live up to. Um, and then coming to the agreement that
Mm-hmm,
this is for my child.
mm-hmm.
Can I do this? Uh, so that's very important. And again, we get back to this time of COVID and all of the things that are going on in the world today. I won't even say the world, I'll say in America today. Uh, the parent handbook should be updated on a constant basis to meet all of the issues that rear up in America, okay, the emergency preparedness plan. If something goes down like January 6th goes down, and one of your clients is a Capitol Hill police officer, you know, he's supposed to pick the baby up at 4, and
Absolutely.
he's in a battle for his life. How do those things work? What types of emergency situations are you prepared for? All of that now has to be in that book, because there's so many things that are going
Absolutely.
on, and so many things that you have to be prepared for in case of a tornado.
I remember we had the earthquake because I
Okay.
had emergency preparedness training,
Mm-hmm.
but they didn't prepare us for that.
Yeah. But
Because
now.
of the area that we're in, they didn't prepare. They prepared us for tornadoes
Mm-hmm.
and shelter in place like a 9/11, but they didn't prepare us for an earthquake. And so now that is in my policy, and so you do have to make sure it's being updated all of the time, and parents, you have a right to ask, they should be, if like I even what you just said, I mean, it's making me think again regarding even what happened on Capitol Hill, so you have to be, you know there has to be some level of really flexibility in regards to when it comes to something like that. You always want to try to parents, if you have someone, I always ask parents, do they have someone who else, normally you want someone else to be able to pick up the child. You want to have a backup, but that's not every family's scenario, so you really have to see, is this center, I'm not referring to what Dr. Campbell, that was, definitely an emergency, but you really need to see how they support. um, you might need a center that's overnight, depending on the field that you're in, so you really need to look at the facility that you are, and if you are looking at an overnight facility, then you need to make sure that they have the proper bedding and things of that nature. That goes even with the ones during the day. You want to make sure that there's proper bedding and things of that nature when you are looking and asking these questions.
And that's why it's important that as well that you as the provider know the profession of your clients. You
Mhm.
got to know that. And again, if they're shift workers, you got to know that. Uh, these are the things that make your that give you the professional and business practices that support you and support the families in
Absolutely.
providing your services. Um, it's not an easy business to be in. I think it's a business that uh, has a great need in the community, and
Mhm.
those that are doing it the right way provide that service and provide the high quality
High quality.
service.
High quality service.
That is
High
absolutely
quality
right, because
service.
that's what we want. But that handbook, again, that is basically your statement
Mhm.
as the business owner of how you conduct and how you interact on a business basis with parents.
Mhm. Because it is important.
Very important.
Very, very important. Well, thank you again, Dr. Campbell. I appreciate you. Parents, we've helped you. So when you're looking for a child care facility or daycare, that you will have the resources and tools to be equipped to ask and look for the best needs of you and your family.
Thank you, Tanya. My
Thank
pleasure
you.
being with you.
All right.